have it all. All right, so can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes, it looks good on my end, Katie. Yep.
Fabulous. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you so much for coming today. My name is Michael Myers, and I am an information specialist at Unity Health Toronto. And if you don't know what that is, it's actually one hospital with 3 different sites, including St. Michael's Hospital, St. Joseph's Health Centre, and Providence Healthcare, all situated in Toronto. And I'll let Katie introduce herself as well.
thank you, Michael. So I'm Katie Merriman. I am also an information specialist with Unity Health Toronto. I primarily work with marketing and outreach, and Michael and I also both do a lot of instruction. So we're really excited to have you all here today. But with that, I'll let Michael take it away.
Yes, and I'm also the electronic resource specialist and chair of the instructional committee, so I'm very excited to share some of our tips and tools that we use to make the switch to online learning. But first of all, we just want to explain our title a little bit. We chose the title, We Flipped the Switch, after the TikTok trend, Flip the Switch, where participants flip with their counterparts at the flip of a switch. Because when we had to make our transition from in-person instruction to online learning, it really felt like we had to do it in the blink of an eye, or the flip of a switch. So if you don't know what we're talking about, we have an example video for you from Saturday Night Live.
Look, I just flipped the switch.
Oh no, bad internet. I'll restart really quick.
Look, I just flipped the switch. I don't know nobody else that's doing this.
There we go.
So just a little bit of fun way to start, and that's where our inspiration from our title came. And it really felt like we had to make this switch we had to transition from in-person teaching to online learning with the flip of a switch, and we wanted to make it as seamless as possible. And sometimes it didn't feel like it was that seamless, but we do think we tried our best, and we're very excited to share the tips and tools that we use to make that switch. But we would like to begin with an acknowledgement of the land on which we work, study, and live. Since this workshop is being held online, a singular land acknowledgement does not capture the richness of our distribution across many locations. There are a few places on Earth that someone before us has not called home, and as many of us are located in Toronto, we would like to share the land acknowledgement that we use at Unity Health Toronto, and participants are invited to consider their own position with regard to the land where they find themselves. So we acknowledge that the land we work on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. So now we would just like to offer a little quick agenda of what we'll be covering today in today's session. So we're going to begin by talking about our instructional committee and how we made the switch from in-person instruction into online learning and what those characteristics looked like. And then we're going to talk about some tools that we use. We're going to begin with Visme, and then we're going to move into Padlet and Loom. And I've seen in the chat throughout the conference that Padlet and Loom have come up, so I'm excited to show you how we use Padlet and Loom to increase our online teaching presence. Then we're also going to talk about how we marketed all these online instructional sessions, the lessons that we learned, some challenges and successes, as well as our future plans for online instruction at Unity Health Toronto. So to begin, at Unity Health Toronto, we do have an instructional committee, which I am the chair of. And I just want to talk about how our instructional sessions ran in the in-person environment. So all of our classes were offered in person, and most of our classes at the beginning of 2020 were actually offered at all 3 sites. So we offered one class 3 different times, one at each site, and the instructors often had to travel between the sites. And then we also had a very hands-on practice-based approach to our instructional sessions with a lot of exercises and a lot of activities and engagement and walking the patrons through the tools or strategies that we were trying to teach them. So it was a very personal, hands-on approach to instruction. especially when we talk about our Excel courses, because we do teach Excel basics and intermediate to our patron base. And those classes were always fully booked. No matter when we offered it at which site, they were mostly fully booked. And there were a lot of hands-on activities and a lot of helping people through the nuances of Excel. So a lot of our material was focused in on the audience and really engaging with them, and then pivoting on a dime if we had questions from the audience, or if a certain audience had expertise in one place, we would flip and focus in on maybe an area that they're lacking. So it was a very give and take kind of environment where we engaged a lot with our audience. And in the in-person world, we didn't use too many technologies in the classroom, apart from the presentation, the demo, and the tools that were being taught. We didn't really offer a lot of technologies, although we were experimenting with recording some of our in-person instruction classes right before the pandemic struck, but it was a very new avenue that we were pursuing. So prior to the switch to online learning, it was very few technologies used in the classroom. And also in our in-person instructions, we were very paper-based. We had all of our patrons register in advance, as well as the evaluation forms that they would fill out. They would be in paper and be distributed to all the audience at the end of the class, and then gathered and then compiled for our statistics. So that was a really paper-based approach to our instructional sessions. But then in March, as we all know, the pandemic struck, and we had to flip the switch and pivot very quickly to online instruction. Which was very new to all of us. So there was a lot of things to work together through as a committee. But we are very thankful at Unity Health Toronto to have a telemedicine department that was able to quickly set up Zoom accounts, not only for the library, but for all the educational departments at Unity Health Toronto. And they even gave us personal ones, and they were very helpful in the setting up and answering all of our questions. Because very few of us had a lot of expertise with Zoom. So we were very thankful to have telemedicine's expertise at Unity Health Toronto to help us through that initial switch to Zoom. And now I feel like we use Zoom every day, and we're feeling very comfortable with it, but we still have them as a reference point, and we're very thankful for that. So all of our instructional sessions went to Zoom live sessions, and the instructional committee really pivoted the way we formatted our committee meetings. We kind of took on a trial and error approach when it came to online instruction, where we would try something new and then report back to the committee. One of the great strengths of our committee is that we were not afraid to try new things, and we were very open and honest with each other of what went well and what was suffering and what aspects did we need to focus in on. So we really had a lot of give and take, which inspired a lot of discussions and seeking out innovative ways to overcome some of the challenges of online learning, as well as look for some solutions to some of the problems that we were noticing. So as a team, this led us to try a lot of new technologies, which we'll detail in the later portion of this presentation. But through these discussions, we also came up with a lot of techniques that we found helpful for teaching online. The first and foremost technique is that we had to redesign a lot of our classes for the hands-on portions to fit in an online world. So for an example, with the Excel videos, the Excel instructional sessions, I broke those out into individual learning objectives with individual videos that were focused in on one skill with one activity, opposed to trying to shove everything into one class. And I'll show you how I created that later in the session, but really just taking a step back and really thinking about how we do our online, our activities in an online environment, and how we can redesign those to fit the online world much better, because as we all know, it's a little bit harder to engage with an online audience opposed to an in-person audience, and you missing that body language and sense of community that you have when you're teaching in person. So really trying to focus in on what activities could work and try to redesign the activities to fit an online world better, and not being afraid to just say, this activity just can't work in an online environment. Let's rethink it. Let's try something different. So that was a big learning curve and something that we had to really focus in on at the beginning. But some other tips, techniques that we've developed through the process of switching to online instruction was just, try turning off your video while presenting, but so that you're focusing on the content and the delivery, opposed to trying to navigate with the video panel and staring at yourself in the camera. When instructors did do this, we always said that you should have your video on for the introduction, and then you can turn it off during the content delivery, and then turn it back on for question and answers at the end. We found that to be a really good way to kind of mitigate some of the anxieties of teaching online, as well as just focusing on the content and your delivery of it. Or if you didn't want to turn off your video, you could just hide your own panel so that you didn't have that staring at you, and so you could focus in on the content. Something that we've also used as a technique is utilizing floats and backups more in an online world. We always had a backup assigned in an instructional session, but often they were just kind of there if the instructor needed them. But when it came to online instruction, we assigned a backup for every class. They would show up and they would help the instructor monitor the chat or help facilitate any online instruction. I know I found that very helpful when I'm trying to detail an activity, to have a colleague answering questions in the chat, so that I didn't have to be doing that. And I was very happy to do that for other people so that they could just focus in on their delivery of the content. So we were really utilizing our floats and backups in the live sessions, but we also encouraged each other to practice with each other, to test out new things, to make sure that it was working in an online environment, checking links. So the instructional committee's strength was really our collaborative effort to all succeed together. So we really were utilizing and leaning on each other's ability to help us through this transition. And one of the techniques that Katie and I have found very helpful was actually co-teaching. Katie and I teach quite a bit, and we often teach together because it helps diminish the anxieties and the workload on one person. And also we have a really good relationship that allows us to have some really fun back and forth in an instructional session that makes it a little bit less formal, but still keeping it within the instructional session tone. And also, we all know engaging in an audience can be difficult, but we found that co-teaching, we would build in an opportunity for Katie and I to have a discussion about the content. For example, one of our most popular classes is infographic design and tools, and we build in a discussion halfway through where Katie and I evaluate different infographics between each other, and that has really encouraged other people to join in. As we start talking, people will throw in their thoughts in the chat or even on mic themselves. So we found that having our discussion kind of took away that anxiety of participating in a live session, because it was more of a conversation opposed to let's have an engagement activity. So it really allowed to encourage users to participate with our discussion and our content. So we found that to be a really great technique, and it's always great to teach with Katie. So very much enjoying that technique. But another aspect of making the switch to online instruction was just learning how to manage our expectations, especially when it came to online engagement. Like I mentioned, our in-person classes were very activity-based, and it was very hard to translate all of those into an online world. So we just had to really manage our expectations and just really focus in on what is actually a success in an online environment. You know, when we used to have everyone participating, we originally went into it being like, only 2 people commented on my content. Like, we need to really engage with our audience more. And we tried new tools and techniques to do that, but then we also started to just come to the realization that, like, in an online environment, just a couple people engaging with your content is a good success for online engagement, because a lot of people are doing multitasks, when they're watching an instructional session because it's much easier to get distracted when it's an online world and you're already at your laptop and you want to check your email quickly. So just really managing our expectations, especially when it comes to online engagement, was a big learning curve for us. But we have often found that just focusing in on what is actually success for online engagement is the better way of approaching it. And we often found that tools that had to take people away from the presentation, we lost people when they had to make that transition. So that's why we use some different tools for online engagement, which Katie will talk about in just a second. But after a couple of months of a trial and error approach where the committee would share and work through these issues, we decided to build an online best practices document. So taking all these techniques, the land acknowledgement, privacy disclaimers, tools, logins, resources, we decided to just compile everything in an online best practices document that can be a working document that is also a reference point for our instructors so that they know some of the best techniques that really help us succeed in an online world. So that document will be our guiding principle moving forward after 2020, because we anticipate a lot more online instruction even after 2020 and the pandemic. So those are just some ways that we made the pivot, but we're going to talk about some of the tools that we use now. So I'm going to hand it over to Katie, who's going to talk about Visme now.
Thank you, Michael. All right, everyone. So diving right into the tools that we use to help transition onto an online environment and what we felt like made our online teaching more successful. So first and foremost, I'd like to take time to talk about Visme. And essentially what Visme is it's a graphic design software designed for non-designers to use and create and design things. So I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard of Canva. It's very similar to Canva. I would say it's just slightly more businessy oriented, while Canva would be more social media oriented. I'm obsessed with Visme. I literally use it every single day. So some of the ways that you could use Visme are, you can use it to create infographics, you can create presentations like the one that you see here. We made this one on Visme. You can use it for social media graphics and design. And of course, it's just very helpful to use to help to formulate your brand and what you want all of your output to kind of look like. So diving in a little deeper, why and how do we use Visme? So one of the biggest things, as I mentioned, was that we use it for graphic design. And so we create a lot of visuals to support all of our initiatives. So we found having visuals attached to any of the initiatives we were putting forward really helped our initiatives stand out from the crowd. So as an example, I have a few of the visuals we created on Visme for different things. So these two here were to advertise different classes, and we use them on Twitter, we use them on our corporate and institutional newsletter. We had all these attached so that it was just a little bit more eye-catching. And the one we had up here was for a set of tools that we designed to help people through the knowledge synthesis process. So this was a key thing, and Visme is really great because it makes creating all these things super easy, super fast, and I mean, I have a lot of fun doing it too, so that's always a benefit. Another aspect of Visme that makes it so awesome is that they have presentation templates. So it's so much easier to create really beautiful aesthetic presentations on Visme because they have all of these little different template slides. I have an example of what it would look like when you're creating it here. So they have all these different types. So introduction, timelines, agenda, teams, services, features, etc. And whenever you click on any of those things, they have like 12 different options that you can choose from of different slightly different layouts for each of those themes. So it makes the visualization process significantly easier. So if you're trying to convey an idea, you can think about, oh, well, what does this idea kind of look like? Oh, well, it's a pro and con. So you can select the pros and cons, and it will provide all these different layouts for how you can convey pros and cons. So it creates the presentation design process, like it cuts the time down significantly because you can just click and choose whatever suits you best. And it's very easy, and everyone will be very impressed with how your presentations look. Everyone will be like, wow, that looks amazing. And you'll be like, I know. So it's really fun to do that. And to continue, Visme is amazing for adding interactives. You can embed all of your interactivities directly onto your presentation, which makes things so much easier from having to toggle in and out of different tools and softwares. So this is an example I have on screen here of an interactive I use for my preparing for a poster presentation class. It's a really great tool, so I just have this attached directly to the PowerPoint, or sorry, to the slides, and I just send it out to the students so that they can easily just engage with it. And it's directly on the PowerPoint, so you can just click on it and engage with it from there, or you can just comment directly on it. So it's honestly incredible, and you can use this with, this is an example of Padlet, which I'll go into a little bit more in a minute, but you can do this with Mentimeter, Poll Everywhere, anything that you can create or embed a link, you can do it for this. So it's honestly a huge time saver, and it's really, really efficient for when you're creating presentations and you're doing online learning. It's really amazing. So that was a quick little overview of Visme. So with that, I am going to talk about Padlet. And I know from yesterday there was quite a few people who have used Padlet before, so I'd also think it'd be really great if anyone has any additional advice or thoughts from what they've learned using Padlet. Feel free to share that in the chat afterwards. I'm sure everyone would love to learn. But for those who might not know what Padlet is, or maybe only heard of it briefly, I'm going to go into a bit more detail. So Padlet can be used by students or by educators, and with Padlet you can create online post-it boards that you can share with any student or teacher, and just give them the unique Padlet link, and Padlet will allow you to insert any of your ideas anonymously or with your name. So for me personally, it took me a little bit longer to understand how to use Padlet and what its strengths are, because in my opinion, it's a bit more open-ended than something like Mentimeter or Kahoots or something like that. And so I feel like Padlet requires a bit more imagination or a little bit more creativity to really get the most use out of it. So I'm going to go into it a little bit more detail. But before I show you the actual software a little bit more in details, I wanted to say that why we as our library services use Padlet so much is that we feel like it really is one of the best tools to make interactivity easier. It's so easy for your audience to engage in from the smallest ways to like the largest ways. So whether it's just adding a like or adding a comment, it's so easy and low pressure, like minimal pressure on the students or learners to engage. It's almost like Facebook in a sense, where it's so easy to just press a like. It's like the pressure of engagement is so low that it's so easy for anyone to feel like they can engage. And sometimes it can be really difficult to encourage people to unmute or even to chat in the Zoom. So we found this tool to be so effective in getting that increased engagement levels from the audience. So let's get into the actual tool. So I'm just going to minimize it here. And I'm going to show you Padlet dashboard. So when you log into Padlet, I also just think Padlet has one of the cutest little interfaces. They always have cute little notes like, remember to eat your veggies. I'm a vegetarian, so I never forget, but it's a good reminder for most of us, I think. But just to overview, here's what the Padlet dashboard looks like. You can see all of the Padlets you've made, all the ones that you've had shared, ones that you've liked, archived, and these are just the recents in general. You have the option to create folders if you want to be more organized, unlike me, clearly, who's not organized. It's just all these random ones, but I'm sure most of you are more organized than I am. but it's a really nice, easy to use little dashboard there. And up here is kind of the more hands-on portion of it. So since I said that Padlet is a little bit more imagination focused, I'm going to show you how Padlet can be made and then show you some examples, and then I'll go into a bit more of the nitty-gritty details. So when you make a Padlet, you have several different design options here. So a few of the popular ones that the library likes, or our library likes, is the wall, which is basically you pack content in like a brick-like layout. We also use the shelf fairly often, which is stack content in a series of columns. The timeline can be pretty interesting, which is place content along in a horizontal line. But there's a lot of different ones here. And I'm going to go through some of my favorites, show you some of the examples that can help give you a better idea of what Padlet can look like. So here is an example of a wall. So basically, just let it load a little bit. All of these little post-its here are their own individual little like post-it note in a sense, and you can attach a title, some text, some images, and all of this stuff. And every single one of these you have a lot of control over. If you are the creator, you can move them around and make it organized in whatever way you wanted, but you have a lot of design capabilities here. Another example of a wall would be like this. So this one's obviously a lot more aesthetic, but it's a whole bunch of pictures. You can change the background, you can change all the images and how you want people to interact with it. It has a lot of control. This one is an example of a shelf. And so you can see here, it's more controlled in columns. So under each of the sections, you can scroll down and see information about that specific topic. So it's organized in a different way. This next one is an example of a canvas. So it has a bit more of a guide. So you can see there's these little arrows that connect you to where you're supposed to go. And then finally, we have an example of a timeline. So these ones are Grammy Songs of the Year. Let's let it load a little bit. But essentially, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. It's a little timeline, so you can just scroll through and see all the different songs of the year. So there's lots of different ways that you can use Padlet, and there is a whole gallery that you can look through to help give you ideas. But as you can see, it can require a bit of imagination because it's very open. But I think that's kind of one of the benefits of it, is that you have so much control over what you want to do. So, oops, I forgot to exit these out. Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm gonna exit these really quick. You guys got a sneak peek of what we're doing before we're gonna do it. But I'm going to show you how to make a Padlet, and I'm going to have you participate in a quick little interactivity. So, this is a Padlet we're going to be working with today. It's called Pick Your Favorite Puppy, and I'm gonna have you guys like the cutest puppy in just a minute. But first I'm gonna show you some of the ways you can set up your Padlet. So with the little gear up here, you can control all of the different aesthetics of your Padlet. So you can pick your title, you can put the description of what you want your participants to do, you can pick the little icon you want to be associated with it. Oops. But we're sticking with our puppy today. This is the unique link that I'll be sending you all shortly so that you can participate. You can change the wallpaper, and the color scheme, the fonts, and then this is for how you want people to be able to participate. So I have it set so that people can use comments or write their own comments, and no one has to have their name, so it's all anonymous. And then I have it set so people will be able to like it, but you can change it to anything you like right there. And if you're working with students or you want to have more heavy moderation, you can right here select approval, so whether you want to approve all comments or whether they just come up on their own. And this one is filtered for profanity. So you can really have a lot of control over it in that sense. All right, so I'm going to show you now how to add content. So right at the bottom here, we press the little plus sign, and with these three dots, you can choose all these different options of how you want to, what you want to put on your little post-it note. So since we're going to be working with puppies, I have 3 beautiful pictures of puppies all ready to go for you guys, which I'm going to upload. Puppies.
Katie, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt for a sec. We just had a request in the chat. Could you zoom in just a little bit, if possible?
I think I can, yes.
Thank you.
No worries.
If possible.
Because the only thing if I, let's see. Yeah, I think I can zoom in. Is that a little bit better for people?
That looks great. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to be like zooming around a bit more because I have to be a little bit closer, but I don't think it should be an issue. Okay. So, what I was going to say is when I'm sending you guys these 3 puppies, I'm going to let you know that there is actually a right and wrong answer as to which of these puppies is the best puppy. So if you guess the wrong puppy, I don't know, like lose 5 house points or something. Okay, so we have, this is puppy. Pardon? Oh, sorry, I thought I heard a voice. But anyway, so you have these 3 puppies. As you can see here, we have the option to like, to comment, and if you click on the puppy, you have the option to enlarge the puppy, so you have all these different views. So I'm now going to share my link with you guys so that I would invite you all to vote on your favorite puppy. And remember, oh, I'm trying to get the chat to pop up. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm sending you guys a like. Oops, I'm sending you all the link to this Padlet, and I would invite you all to like your favorite puppy, and then, or sorry, like which puppy I guess is your favorite, but there is a right and wrong answer, and then feel free to leave a comment as well. Oh, and you see we're getting interactions already. So we're gonna wait for just 1 minute just to see how many comments we get. Oh, we have some comments. We're getting some likes. Oh, someone says which one's the best choice. Oh, I love this, guys. We're getting so many great ones.
And I just want to add in a quick point here as people are filling things in. As you can see, Katie shared a link to this Padlet, but there's other sharing options that are available. Mm-hmm. Like you can embed this Padlet onto a presentation, which is where using Visme and Padlet really work well together, because we often make Padlets and then embed it onto our Visme presentations. And then we just share the link to our presentation so that participants in our classes, they just need to follow along on the slides and they can engage with the Padlet right on the slide. They don't have to jump over into another website. That just streamlines the engagement all in one place.
Thank you, Michael. That is exactly, that's so perfect. Thank you for adding that in. Okay, so I think we've gotten a lot of comments now and likes. So I will tell you, so it looks like this puppy here, I think this is like a Maltese or something. Actually, I'm not sure what it is, but it's a very cute puppy. But unfortunately, you all guessed wrong. Who guessed this one? This puppy here is the best puppy because this is my nephew. He is my sister's child. And so he is obviously, his name is Bernie. So I'm sorry for those who guessed wrong. But all 28 of you who guessed Bernie, you are correct. Congratulations. So with that, I'm going to move. Yes, thank you, Stephanie. He is adorable. So anyway, with that, I'm just going to really quickly show you the gallery for Padlet right here, which basically will show you all these different inspirations of how you can use Padlet and how different ways you can ask questions or how you can design it. It's all here, so if you're looking for ideas or suggestions, I would highly recommend checking this out. But that is a good summary of Padlet. So with that, I'm going to pass you over to Michael for our last tool, and I'm going to stop sharing now.
All right, thank you, Katie. I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to share the computer audio. Okay. Are you able to see the presentation again?
Yeah, Michael, we just got a comment, but I think maybe we can do that at the end about repeating the part about embedding the Padlet activity into the presentation. She was thinking about puppies, understandable. If you go back to like a few, you can see the one we had it embedded, the other one embedded. I think it was the second one after this one.
After this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There. So yeah, you can explain it, Michael, if you want.
Yeah, so this is just an example of how we've embedded Padlet into a Visme presentation. So as you can see, I can engage with this Padlet right on the slides itself. I can like something. So we often create a Padlet and then embed it onto a Visme, so that when we are teaching a class, all we have to do is send the link to our presentation, and then participants follow along, and the engagements are built right into the presentation. So we don't have them jumping out of the presentation to go to a different website, or a Mentimeter where you have to enter a code to participate. We often found that the less steps involved with engagement actually encourages engagement. And as Katie said, there's such low pressure with it. So having it low pressure and embedded into presentations really encourages people to participate. And we found it quite helpful. And Visme and Padlet work really well together for that. But I'm going to talk about our third tool now. It's Loom. So Loom is a software that allows you to record your screen and yourself at the same time. And then you can edit the videos on the same platform, and it also allows for a lot of sharing capabilities and options for interactions through comments or reactions. So Loom is best used for creating a class or instructional video without an audience. A key difference between using Loom opposed to a Zoom recording is that sometimes with Zoom, the cursor isn't always very visible, and you have to worry about the video panel and the command bar, and there's just a lot going on. And then you get a file, and then you have to edit it elsewhere, and then you have to share the file, and sometimes it's a really big recording, and it's too big to share. So there's just lots of a lot of clunkiness around the Zoom, but Loom has everything offered in one space, so that makes it really simple and really effective tool. And this is just because Loom is really designed for recording and sharing your screen, while Zoom is just really more focused in on collaboration and meetings. So both have their strengths. I just found that Loom was great for creating some instructional videos. Earlier in the class, I talked about how we transitioned our Excel basics and intermediate class into an online instruction. All of our classes have just become Zoom live sessions, but we determined as a committee that the Excel basics and Excel intermediate class would not work in an Zoom live session, because there's just so many activities and learning objectives, and Excel is a tool where everyone has different levels. So when we were teaching in person, we often had an instructor and two floats to kind of help people individually get through the activities and the learning objectives, and helping anybody who falls behind. So we determined that just based on the complexity of Excel, it'd be too hard to teach in a live session. So instead, we decided to create static instructional videos for this Excel basics and intermediates. So I took out every individual learning objective of basics and intermediate, and then created an individual video just focused in on that one learning objective. So this allows our patrons to pick and choose which learning objective of Excel that they really want to focus in on. And since it's not live, they can pause it, rewind it, fast forward. And since I created it on Loom, they actually have the ability to interact with the videos a little bit easier, so they can leave comments, and then I can respond to those comments and help them if they have any issues. So it's been really great, especially because Excel was our most popular class. We really wanted to make sure that we had something available for our patrons, especially since everything is virtual. I feel like a lot of people are using Excel more often now. So I want to just give an example of the Excel videos. So the Excel eLearning module that we created can be found on our library workshop page. And I created a web page with subpages. And as you can see, there's a subpage for each individual learning objective. So there's 7 for the basics and 7 for the intermediate. And at the beginning, you have all the workbooks and handouts for the activities that are talked about in the individual videos. So let's just jump down to Excel Intermediate Learning Objective let's do number 5. So as you can see, there's the embedded video from Loom that I created, and then it has what the video is going to be covering. So this one's covering text formulas, and then it has the instructions of the activity that's covered in the video written out here so that they can refer to it if they prefer to read through instructions rather than listen and watch. So this is just how we've kind of structured our Excel class for an online world. So let's just watch it to show you some of the features. But first of all, you can see that you can watch it at different speeds. I don't know who would watch that times two, but you can if you want. And like I said, there's the sharing options in the top corner. So if you can copy a link or even tweet it. But let's just watch it for a couple seconds here. Hello, and welcome to the Health Science Library's Excel e-learning module. This is the 5th lesson in the Excel intermediate portion of this course. This lesson will begin with introducing the learning objective of the video, along with the skills you will learn, and then we'll continue with an explanation of the skills and a demonstration. The learning objective for this video is to use text formulas, which will include upper, proper, lower, and concatenate. So that's just like a quick little demo of what it kind of looks like. I just want to point out a couple features here. As you can see, it's recording my screen, but it also has my photo in the corner that lights up blue when I'm talking. So that kind of adds a personal aspect to it. You can also record your live camera as you are doing an instruction, but since it was Excel, I preferred to just focus in on the content, but I did like that the photo gave it a little bit of a personal aspect to it. And then also I just jump over into Excel and then start teaching in Excel. And then as you can see at the bottom, you can have reactions to the video. So if someone's watching this and likes something, they can put a thumbs up or a happy face, or if I tell a joke and they find it funny, they can give me a laughing emoji. But this is just the embedded version. So you actually, when you make a Loom video, get like a little bit of a web page. And I'm going to show you what that looks like if you're a patron who's engaging with this video. So you can click on Watch on Loom, and it's going to take you to this web page here. Oh, sorry. I want to sign out real quick so that you guys can see it as if you were a patron. So I'm going to click on Watch on Loom again. Okay, so if you click the video, you can actually write a comment down in the bottom here. And again, there's your reaction tabs there. So you can react and comment to the video. And then you have your sharing options again. You have more when you're on the actual page. You can copy a link's GIF, embed, tweet, and Facebook, and your users can actually even download it. So it's really great features there. But let's sign in, and I can show you some back-end features of it. Just give me a quick moment here as I sign back in. Okay, so now that we're here, this is the dashboard. As you can see, there's a personal library, and I had built a folder of all my Excel videos so that I know that they're all in one place. But then if I had some other members that were using it, I could share one of my videos and invite teammates to edit it. So there is a collaboration aspect on Loom. And then you also have a team space if you have some other team members using it. So if I made an instructional video and I wanted to share it with my team, I could just drop it in there. And then you can star your favorites, archive ones, and then also your settings there. But yeah, let me show you how you actually start one. So in this corner here, you'll see a recorded video. So obviously you click that to start, begin your recording. And then you have all your options here. Skip for now. So if I allowed my video on, it would appear in the bottom, but I'm just using my photo. And as you can see, as I'm speaking, it's lighting up blue and to kind of show that I'm talking. But you can choose up here to record your screen and camera. Screen only is the screen and then a picture, or you can just do your camera if you want to. And then you can do your full desktop or just your current tab. And then you can have your recording, your microphone settings here. And as you can see, it's picking up my voice, so you know it's always testing and working. So I'm using the free account on Loom, and the free account does have a limitation of 5 minutes per video. When I created Excel Basics and Intermediates, I was using the free account, but they didn't have it locked. They didn't have limitations on the free account when I was using it. So a lot of my videos go around 7 or 8 minutes, but now there's a limit of 5 minutes on recording, which can be a limitation of the free account. But I wanted to show this tool because I thought it was really strong. And after this conference, I'm learning that, people's attention spans don't really go past 5 minutes anyways. So maybe the 5-minute limitation is actually a good way of controlling the length of your videos to encourage engagement with your content. But I just wanted to demonstrate this tool, because after you're done recording, you actually have a lot of options. So I'm going to go down to this video I have here to show you some of the back-end things that I think are really cool. So I've built this video, and they changed on it for me. That's one thing about using a tool that is for profit. They change things without even letting you know. So always watch out for that. But here's the comment section where I could engage with somebody who had a question about Excel. I could see the reactions to this video. I can see how many people have viewed it. I have my share options here, as well as all these other options with the video. So I just used the share options to embed these videos onto our webpage for the Excel classes. So you can also choose video preferences, where you can allow emoji reactions, comments, and get email notifications viewer can download. And this is where I really like Loom, is that you can edit it all on the same platform. It's called trimming. So you just click the trim and you have the options to start trimming. And then you just move this progress bar to wherever you want to cut out portions of your video if you made a mistake. And you can also use the manual arrows down here to choose portions of your video that you want to trim out. And it goes down to the millisecond, so you can get pretty precise. And as you can see, I made a mistake here, so I cut it out. But I can go back and edit that trim at any time. Because one of the great things about Loom is that even after you edit it, you can always revert back to the original, because it keeps your raw video available to you, which is a great option that you have in case you want to make different changes. I know I took advantage of this when I was building the Excel classes, because even I make mistakes in Excel, so it was very helpful to just cut that out and start again. So I liked having everything in one place and then being able to share it very easily with our patron base. So I know it's a lot of information at once, but we'll take questions in just a bit. But I do want to make sure that we're getting to our next portions. So we'll talk a little bit quickly about our marketing schemes. So Katie, we're running a bit tight on time, so maybe we can condense it. Oh, Katie, you're on mute.
I said I'll be swift but detailed. So, okay, let's get into it. So when it comes to marketing online classes, there's a few things that we have to do to switch from what we did prior to what we are doing currently. So prior to COVID, we did a lot of physical marketing, especially for our St. Joe's and our Providence sites. We all had to have a shift, and so how did we do it? So like I mentioned before, visuals have been very important component of our online marketing. Creating visuals to draw people's attention and to help us stand out was very important part of like having us stand out. To continue, having thoughtful repetition was very important. We don't want to overload people or be annoying or be spammy, but oftentimes if you only show something once, it's not enough. So we often advertise everything 3 times within a 2 to 3 week period. So annoying but visible. That's not annoying but visible. That's the goal. And finally, having everything being easily accessible was very important. Previously, we had a lot of registration and there was limited sign up, so we wanted to have all these numbers for our administrative purposes, but we didn't really have those same limitations anymore, so we thought just make it easy. So every time we marketed it, we made sure that the link was included so that people could easily access it. There was as the least amount of work they could possibly do in order to join in on our online classes. So to sum that up, make it easily seen often, and make it easy to join. Those are some of the key things that we have done for our marketing. So off to Michael.
Thank you, Katie. So I just want to quickly talk about some successes and challenges that we've had through this process. So I'm going to run through these a little bit quickly, so sorry about that. But if you have any questions or want to talk more about it, you can always email us afterwards. But some of the successes that we actually saw was surprisingly increased amount of attendance of our classes. And this is most likely probably due to what Katie just mentioned, making it more accessible, especially across all 3 sites. Now that it's just a Zoom link that's broadcast across all 3 sites, no matter where you are, you can join in a library session instead of having us travel to your sites. So it's much more accessible for everybody. There's less administrative work required on the patron side. You don't have to register in advance. And it's also less administration work for us on our end, because getting the classrooms for all the instructional sessions was always a bit of a challenge when everyone else is trying to book all the rooms as well. So not having to worry about that has really helped us. And we've also translated our evaluation form into an online form that when a class is completed, we run an attendance report and then email them the evaluation form, and they fill it out electronically, and then we record it in our data set. So less administrative work on both ends, which is a great success. And a great success is that as the committee, we've been really seeing an increase in teamwork and innovation, and really helping each other discover new tools and techniques, and helping each other practice and overcome a lot of the anxieties of online teaching, and really strengthening us as a whole. So a great amount of teamwork and innovation, and I can't be more proud of the instructional committee, and I always seek to thank them whenever I get a chance. But some challenges that we faced. Like I mentioned before, in our in-person classes, we didn't use a lot of technologies, but in an online world, we started to adapt to use more technologies like Visme, Padlet, Loom, Trello, mind mapping. We used a lot of new tools, and we got really good at them. So we wanted to start teaching these tools to other people to help their time management, as well as help them learn how to teach online as well. But then we realized that these are third-party web-based softwares, and since we work at a hospital, we have a strict privacy code because of all the protected health information that hospitals deal with. So we ran into a little bit of a challenge here with IT privacy, because we didn't actually have these third-party tools vetted before we started teaching them. So we're in the process of having all of our tools vetted, and now when we teach a class that has any of the tools, we do offer a privacy disclaimer to let our patrons know that this is for personal use only, and that disclaimer has been approved by IT security. So just a little bit of a challenge that we had to kind of overcome, that we didn't realize at the beginning, but we are definitely overcame it, but it was definitely a surprise for us. New technologies are definitely a success of our online teaching presence, but they also pose a challenge, because with moving to an online environment, there's lots of learning curves, and those technologies do provide a lot of learning curves, but we were able to help each other overcome those based on different people's technology skills. So again, our teamwork allowed us to overcome this challenge. Something that we all know is Zoom fatigue. So we, like Katie said, we don't want to be annoying, but we do want to be helpful. So just trying to balance it out, and maybe offer this, because when we were teaching in person, we would teach a class 3 times, 1 at each site, but we don't have to do that in an online environment. We can teach a class once and not overwhelm our patron bases. And also a lot more meetings are popping up in an online world, especially working at a hospital during this period of time. So we have to be very aware of those other meetings to avoid conflicting times. And online engagement, we've talked about this a lot, is definitely a challenge, but we just got to learn how to manage our expectations and build in easy tools that encourage people to participate in a low pressure environment. So one last slide before we move on to questions. We just wanted to have a quick little preview of what's to come at Unity Health Toronto. So what Katie and I are currently working on is building library workshops on demand. So what we want to do is take all of our classes and pre-record them without an audience, and then build a web page that kind of looks like a streaming service where you can scroll through and browse and search through our pre-recorded instructional sessions, and then pick and choose which one you want to listen to. So you can pause it, rewind it, fast forward, watch a part of it, leave, come back, allowing it to be more accessible for time, but also by building pre-recorded videos and putting on a web page, we can build in some more accessibility features such as closed captioning and web reader properties. So it's going to be a really great initiative that we're taking on, and we're very excited about it. Did you want to add anything about that future plan, Katie?
Yeah, really quick. One of the big things about this was that since a lot of our users are clinical staff or who we want to be our users are clinical staff, and having live sessions isn't always helpful for them because they have shift work hours and etc. So it's hard for them to come physically. So we're hoping that this will increase accessibility for those users. And that's all I have to say about that. So I think we can move on to questions.
Yes. So sorry, we only have about 4 minutes, but we're ready to take any of your questions now.
I have a few questions that I got from the chat, Michael, for you about Loom. So we can speed round some of those really quick, okay? So does Loom have capabilities to work with assistive softwares?
I'm not sure on that one, unfortunately. How I've been using it has just been creating a Loom and then embedding it and then working on building in accessibility on the web page that we have it embedded in. I'm unfortunately not sure what they offer for including it during your actual videos. So I'm sorry about that.
Another one was, do you know if they have closed captioning?
Again, not something I looked into, so possibly, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, some people added, I was trying to Google it while you're talking, and I don't think that Loom does, but there's other ways to do it. Someone from the chat, I forget, I think possibly it was Jennifer who said this.
Yeah, seeing that right now,
yeah, gave a suggestion on how to do that. And then last question was, thanks, Jennifer. With Loom, can you add interactive items like quizzes using the same platform? Also, does it include analytics so you can see the views and stuff?
Yes, you can definitely see the views on your back end. You can see how many people have viewed it. You can also change your access to a certain domain. So if I wanted to have my videos only accessible by people from Unity Health Toronto, I could have it set to, you have to put in your email address, and it has to match at Unity Health Toronto. And then that way I could see who actually is engaging with the video. But most of my videos, I just left it open for anybody. So I don't get to see who viewed it, but I get to see how many people have viewed it.
Is there possibilities for quizzes?
I don't think Loom itself offers it, but you can just have a quiz in a tab and you can share your full screen and then do a quiz that way. It's really, like I said, it's more a little bit for creating instructional videos and sharing them, opposed to having a kind of a live audience with interaction. But definitely something you could incorporate into your Loom videos, but I don't think it's something that Loom offers specifically.
Awesome. I think we have a hand risen. I'm not sure how to.
Yes, it looks like Ben's got a question. I'm going to try to ask him to unmute.
Okay.
Or Stephanie, perhaps. Oh, there we go. So go ahead, Ben.
Hello.
Yep, we hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. The reason why, and I'm kind of blowing the horn over here. I am a Algonquin student with a permanent disability. And the reason why I'm asking this is that with all this technology, with all those programs, with all those, that what you are forefronting is all great and all. But I think that most of the time is that this section of the population that is going to use this maybe have a permanent, disability, or either it's visual, hearing impaired, whatever, etc. And for me, it's kind of like I kind of have to kind of raise my hand and saying, this is great and all, but have you guys considered this, thoroughly? So I guess what I'm saying is that for the future, is it possible to have a panel expert that has an expertise with all this, please? Because you may never know what you can miss with all this. And I'm sorry if I'm not trying to insult anybody. That's not the word, but I'm not trying to just being malicious I just wanted to make it clear that some stuff, this goes way over the heads of normal people.
Thank you for bringing that forward, Ben. That's a really good point. And I know with accessibility is something that Michael and I in the instructional committee has, and Michael probably will have more to say on this than me, since he's the chair of the committee, but it's something that we have been trying to be more mindful of, and it's something, especially now that we're doing more virtual learning, and one of the reasons why we're trying to add the on-demand workshops is that we're hoping to look into how to make them more accessible for everyone. Like by adding like the closed captionings and adding all those different aspects to it. But it's something that, I mean, to be honest, Michael and I are not experts on and we don't know enough about, but it's something that we have been trying to look into and learn more about, and make everything more accessible for everyone. And you're right, it's very important. So it's something that we need to put more focus onto. And I think that is one of the goals for our committee in 2021 is to put more energy and more focus and knowledge and understanding into those aspects. Michael, is there anything else about that you wanted to add?
Just want to build off that point that yes, it is a very important consideration that not only is our committee working on, but the hospital itself is working very hard to increase the accessibility because of the online world that we find ourselves. So telemedicine, our patient family and health life center is also working on it. So it's definitely a conceded effort to make things a lot more accessible, but there's a lot more work to do. So thank you so much, Ben, for raising that point. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I just switched the slide here so that you could have our contact information, but I'm pretty sure that the planners will also send all this stuff out. But just want to say thank you guys for showing up today and for engaging with our content.